believe I said reading this already. I'm not sure if I haven't. I believe I did a little bit, not a lot of the book. One individual that asked me to read to continue American Dirt. But my mother is currently reading it. So I'm gonna wait until she is finished. Yeah, I'm gonna wait till she's done. I actually finished American Dirt. It was a really good book, a really good book. Actually, very good book. But anyway, I thought it was going to center around the journey of them migrating to America, as well as their lives in the U.S. after they migrated, but it was solely about their journey. And I think that was pretty cool. I actually preferred it that way. And it ended well for the main characters, but some of my favorite characters did not make it. I was so sad. Like, no. But yeah, and I finished Axioms End. I don't know why the A was all that so long. Anyway, AXIOMS and END Axioms End. Apostrophe S AXIOM apostrophe S END. That was also a good book. No, I'm lying. It was okay. It was an okay book. If you like books about extra stress to your life, it was, it was decent. But honestly, it could have been a lot better if the main character wasn't so. She was a little naive to me. So, for example, in the book, the alien kind of admits to participating in mass genocide. And the girl, like, to another planet. And the girl was shook. She was shook. She was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." And I was looking at her like, "Girl, are you crazy?" Like, if an alien pulled up to Earth, right, and I happened to come across that alien, or be one of the sole people interacting with that alien, you think I'ma assume the alien had done some wild shit before I got here? I'm not gonna assume that. That was crazy. So it was giving naive. I was like, "Girl, hush." And then she wanted the alien. "You should stay on Earth and help us." Girl, you know good and well that the alien don't want to be here, sis. Like, how bizarre is that to ask? And you know what? She did acknowledge that it was bizarre to ask the alien to stay, but it was the fact she asked. I'm like, and then was mad when he said no. Girl. And she asked him mad times. She was like, "You should stay on this planet and help us so we can survive." I was like, us humans don't even want to be here most days. Why would he want to stay here? Granted, they grew fond of each other, but still, honey, no baby. Anyway, let's get started with Axioms and The Alchemist. Alright, I'm just gonna pick at a somewhat random place because I don't want to reread what I read already, just in case someone was paying attention that day and like, dang sis, I don't want to hear this again. You know what, JK, let me start over. I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna cut bangs with this hair next, like these little like layered bangs with these like, you know, faux locks. I think it's gonna look really cool. Yeah. Edges, you know. At this point, I'm getting a lot of build up right here. A lot of build up right there, but it is what it is. The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk, you know what? I'm not reading this again. I'm sorry. I'm gonna continue. The boy's name is Santiago. He's a shepherd. That's all I need to know for right now. He's a shepherd. Okay. Meaning he's in charge of some sheep. Just in case you might know what shepherd is. Like, what's that? He's in charge of some sheep. That's all we got. He has a flock of sheep. Alright, so I'll move on, right? I need to sell some wood, the boy told the merchant. The shop was busy, and the man asked the shepherd to wait until the afternoon. So the boy sat on the steps of the shop and took a book from his bag. I didn't know shepherds knew how to read, said a girl's voice behind him. The girl was typical of the region of Andalusia, with flowing black hair and eyes that vaguely recalled the Moorish conquerors. Well, usually I learn from more. You know what's funny? Sidebar. One day, somebody was like, yo, the stuttering is such a great trigger. And I remember reading that comment and dying laughing because usually when I stutter, it's not a trigger, baby. I be stuttering, okay? Real life, honey, real life. I was like, girl, don't blame me, or girl or man, don't blame me. Or whatever they identify as, girl, I'm not gonna assume, child. But yeah, I was sitting there like, it's a trigger. You making fun of me, hey? Now Bobby stuttering. Like, I do repeat words, like, just for the sake of, like, you know, word repetition, like, you know, as an actual trigger. When I stutter, I be stuttering for real. But I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all pick up on that, like, just now. Anyway, well, usually I learn more from my sheep than from books, he answered. During the 2 hours that they talked, she told him she was the merchant's daughter and spoke of life in the village, where each day was like all the others. The shepherd told her of the Andalusian countryside and related the news from the other towns where he had stopped. It was a pleasant change from talking to his sheep. How did you learn to read? The girl asked at one point. Like everybody learns, he said, in school. Well, but if you know how to read, why are you just a shepherd? The boy mumbled an answer that allowed him to avoid responding to her question. He was sure the girl would never understand. He went on telling stories about his travels, and her bright Moorish eyes went with wide fear and surprise. As the time passed, the boy found himself wishing that the day would never end, that her father would stay busy and keep him waiting for 3 days. He recognized that he was feeling something he'd never experienced before. The desire to live in one place forever. With the girl with the raven hair, his days would never be the same again. But finally, the merchant appeared and asked the boy to share 4 sheep. He paid for the wool and asked the shepherd to come back the following year. And now, it was only 4 days before he would get back in the same village. He was excited. He was excited. And at the same time, uneasy. Maybe the girl had already forgotten him. Lots of shepherds passed through, selling their wool. It doesn't matter, he said to his sheep. I know other girls in other places. But in his heart, he knew that it did matter. And he knew that shepherds like seamen, men of the sea, and like traveling salesmen, always found a town where there was someone who could make them forget the joys of carefree wandering. The day was dawning, and the shepherd urged his sheep in the direction of the sun. They never have to make any decisions, he thought. Maybe that's why they stay close to me. The only things that concerned the sheep were food and water. As long as the boy knew how to find the best patches and leisure, they would be his friends. Yes, their days were all the same, with the seemingly endless hours between sunrise and dusk, and they had never read a book in their young lives, and didn't understand when the boy told them about the sights of the cities. They were content with just food and water, and in exchange, they generously gave of their wool, their company, and once in a while, their meat. If I became a monster today and decided to kill them one by one, they would become aware only after most of the flock had been slaughtered, thought the boy. They trust me, and they've forgotten how to rely on their own instincts because I led them to nourishment. The boy was surprised at his thoughts. Maybe the church with the sycamore growing from within had been haunted. It had caused him to have the same dream for a second time, and it was causing him to feel anger towards his faithful companions. He drank a bit from the wine that remained from his dinner. Yeah, you're drinking wine. I mean, granted, in different countries, wine, the drinking age gets younger and younger. So it's probably like, if he's a boy, he's probably like 16 or something. Anyway, he drank a bit from the wine that remained from his dinner of the night before, and he gathered his jacket closer to his body. He knew that a few hours from now, with the sun at its zenith, the heat would be so great that he would not be able to lead the flock across the fields. It was the time of day when all of Spain, okay, he's from Spain, I feel like I knew that though, slept during the summer. The heat lasted until nightfall, and all that time, what am I doing? Am I doing that? I do have like very weird moments. My bad. Anyway, it was time of day when all of Spain slept during the summer. The heat lasted until nightfall, and all that time he had to carry his jacket. But when he thought to complain about the burden of its weight, he remembered that because he had the jacket, he had withstood the cold of the dawn. We have to be prepared for change, he thought, and he was grateful for the jacket's weight and warmth. The jacket had a purpose, and so did the boy. His purpose in life was to travel, and after 2 years of walking in the Andalusian terrain, he knew all of the cities of the region. He was planning on this visit to explain to the girl how it was that simple shepherd knew how to read. He was planning on this visit to explain to the girl how it was a simple shepherd knew how to read. That he had attended a seminary until he was 16. See, I know he was 6. Well, he probably not 16 no more. I don't know. His parents had wanted him to become a priest, and thereby a source of pride for a simple farm family. You know what's crazy? There's this show. My thumb. There's a lot going on. So when I was in the bathroom, I was trying to take something. I just like totally bent this nail back. It's not like disconnected or anything, but it hurts. So I'm good. That's what that was. Sorry. Anyway, there's a smoothie show on Amazon Prime called Alex Undone. I love that show. being a priest was like a really high honor. Whereas if you know your family, well, for me, example, parts of my family, I was becoming a priest or a priest, whatever you want to say, call them. They would look at me sideways, like, excuse me, for what? There's so much going on anyway. Alright. Yes. So his parents had wanted him to become a priest and thereby a source of pride for a simple farm family. They worked hard just to have food and water like the sheep. He had studied Latin, Spanish, and theology, but ever since he'd been a child, you know what? Maybe priests back in the day had more of a because Latin, Spanish, theology. Anyway, this is my uneducated self trying to figure some stuff out. Ignore replays. Anyway, but ever since he had been a child, he had wanted to know. Oh, obviously, he would learn Latin to read the original text. Duh. He wanted to know the world, and this was more, not original text, you know what I mean? Let me shut up, okay? I'm sorry. More important to him than knowing God and learning about man's sins. Well, yeah, Latin, right? It's because I'm reading the book with you guys, so I'm like having like my mind is just like okay. Anyway, knowing God and learning about man's sins, one afternoon on a visit to his family, he had summoned up the courage to tell his father that he didn't want to become a priest, that he wanted to travel. People from all over the world have passed through this village, son. They come in search of new things, but when they leave, they are basically the same people they were when they arrived. They climb the mountain to see the castle, and they wind up thinking that the past was better than what we have now. They have blonde hair or dark skin, but basically they're the same people who live right here. But I like to see the castles and the towns where they live, the boy explained. Those people, when they see our land, say they would like to live here forever, his father continued. Well, I'd like to see their land and see how they live, said his son. The people who came here have a lot of money to spend, so they can afford to travel. His father said, amongst us, the only ones who travel are the shepherds. Well then, I'll be a shepherd. His father said no more. The next day, he gave his son a pouch that held 3 ancient Spanish coins. I found these one day in the fields. I wanted them to be a part of your inheritance, but use them to buy your sheep. Oh gosh. Remix. What is happening? Use them to buy your flock. Take to the field, and someday you'll learn that our countryside is the best, and our women are the most beautiful. And he gave the boy his blessing. The boy could see in his father's gaze a desire to be able himself to travel the world, a desire that was still alive, despite his father's having had to bury it over dozens of years, under the burden of struggling for water to drink, food to eat, and the same place to keep every night of his life. All the same place to sleep every night of his life. The horizon tinged with red, and suddenly the sun appeared. The boy thought back to that conversation with his father and felt happy. He had already seen many castles and met many women, but none the equal of the one who awaited him several days hence. He owned a jacket, a book that he could trade for another, and a flock of sheep. But most important, he was able every day to live out his dream. If he would tire of the Andalusian fields, he would sell his sheep and go to sea. By the time he had enough of the sea, he would already be known to other cities, other women, and other chances to be happy. I couldn't have found God in the seminary, he thought, as he looked at the sunrise. Whenever he could, he sought out a new road to travel. He had never been to that ruined church before, in spite of having traveled through those parts many times. The world was huge and inexhaustible, but he had only to allow his sheep to set the route for a while, and he would discover other interesting things. The problem is that they don't even realize that they're walking a new road every day. They don't see the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about is food and water. Maybe we're all that way, the boy mused. Even me. I haven't thought of other women since I met the merchant's daughter. Looking at the sun, he calculated that he would reach Tarifa before midday. There he would exchange his book for a thicker one, fill his wine bottle, shave, and have a haircut. He had to prepare himself for his meeting with the girl, and he didn't want to think about the possibility that some other shepherd with a larger flock of sheep had arrived there before him and asked for her hand. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, he thought, as he looked again at the position of the sun and hurried his pace. He had suddenly remembered that in Tarifa there was an old woman who interpreted dreams. The old woman led the boy to a room at the back of her house. It was separated from her living room by a curtain of colored beads. The room's furnishings consisted of a table, an image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and 2 chairs. The woman sat down and told him to be seated as well. Then she took both of his hands in hers and began to quote the freak and began to quietly pray. It sounded like a gypsy prayer. The boy had already had experience on the road with gypsies. They also traveled, but they had no flock of sheep. People said that gypsies spent their lives tricking others. It was also said that they had a pact with the devil, and that they kidnapped children, taken them away to their mysterious camps, made them their slaves. As a child, the boy had always been frightened to death that he would be captured by gypsies, and this childhood fear returned when that old woman took his hands in hers. But she had the Sacred Heart of Jesus there, and he thought, trying to reassure himself, he didn't want his hand to begin trembling, showing the old woman that he was fearful. He was said in Our Father silently. Very interesting, said the woman, never taking her eyes from the boy's hands, and then fell silent. The boy was becoming nervous. His hands began to tremble, and the woman sensed it. He quickly pulled his hands away. I didn't come here to have you read my palm, he said, already having regret come. He thought for a moment that it would be better to pay her fee and leave without learning a thing, that he was giving too much importance to this recurrent dream. You came so that you could learn about your dreams, said the old woman, and dreams are the language of God. When he speaks in our language, I can interpret what he has said, but if he speaks in the language of the soul, it is only you who can understand. But whichever it is, I'm going to charge you for the consultation. Another trick, the boys thought, but he decided to take the chance. He decided to take the chance. A shepherd always takes his chances with wolves and with the drought, and that's what makes a shepherd's life exciting. I've had the same dream twice, he said. when a child appeared and began to play with the animals. I don't like people to do that because the sheep are afraid of strangers. But children always seem to be able to play with them without frightening them. I don't know why. I don't know how animals know the age of humans. Tell me more about your dream, said the woman. I have to get back to my cooking, and since you don't have much money, I can't give you a lot of time. The child went on playing with my sheep for quite a while, continued the boy, a bit upset. And suddenly, the child took me by both hands and transported me to the Egyptian pyramids. He paused for a moment to see if the woman knew what the Egyptian pyramids were, but she said nothing. Then, at the Egyptian pyramids, he said the last 3 words slowly, so the woman would understand. The child said to me, "If you come here, you will find a hidden treasure." And just as she was about to show me the exact location, I woke up. Both times. The woman was silent for some time. Then she again took his hands and studied them carefully. "I'm not going to charge you anything now," she said, "but I want 1/10 of the treasure if you find it." The boy laughed out of happiness. He was going to be able to save the little money he had because of a dream about hidden treasure. "Well, interpret the dream," he said. "First, swear to me. Swear that you will give 1/10 of your treasure in exchange for what I'm going to tell you." The shepherd swore he would. The old woman asked him to swear again while looking at the image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. "It's a dream in the language of the world," she said. "I can interpret it, but the interpretation is very difficult. That's why I feel that I deserve a part of what you find. And this is my interpretation. You must go to the pyramids in Egypt. And, I'd never heard of them, but it was a child that showed them to you. They exist. There you will find a treasure that will make you a rich man." The boy was surprised, then irritated. He didn't need to seek out the old woman for this, but then he remembered that he wasn't going to have to pay anything. "I didn't need to waste my time just for this," he said. "I told you that your dream was a difficult one. It's the simple things in life that are the most extraordinary. Only wise men are able to understand them, and since I'm not wise, I have learned to learn other arts, such as the reading of palms." "Well, how am I going to get to Egypt?" "I only interpret dreams. I don't know how to turn into reality. That's why I had to live off what my daughters provide me with. And what if I never get to Egypt? Then I don't get paid. It wouldn't be the first time